Even Deadpool knows he's such an MVP. From the comic books to some screen time, Deadpool has always captivated us. So a collaboration between Deadpool and Wolverine was overdue. Basically, it's two guys who never die. However, according to some sources, they wouldn't necessarily be facing each other in an epic battle. They'd actually be chummy, almost like in real life. As such, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds released a teaser video together. In it, you had them talking simultaneously and interrupting one another as they gave us a hint of the dynamic they would be sharing in their upcoming movie. It's actually titled Deadpool 3, and Wolverine will act as a sort of sidekick or supporting character. We recall that Hugh Jackman swore it was over for the Wolverine character after the Logan installment that saw him die. Since then, Disney has acquired the rights to the X-Men franchise from Fox, and by extension, Disney now owns the Wolverine character. Fans have been clamoring for the introduction of the X-Men into the MCU, and not just them, but also franchises like the Fantastic Four. Now that Disney had the publishing rights to some of these iconic characters, it was a no-brainer to expand the MCU by introducing new blood. So it seems the first of those introductions would have Wolverine team up with Deadpool in the third part of the film. Some diehard fans even preferred that Deadpool be thrown into the Avengers for a little fun, but they got Wolverine instead. Again, Wolverine is not going to be slashing up Deadpool just so he can regenerate for the sake of it. They'd more likely be partners in crime. A possible storyline has been circulating recently that also involves the TVA. The Time Variance Authority, or TVA, is set to return in the second season of the Loki series. Remember, Morbius and Loki have struck it off as friends, if not partners, and they're always on the lookout for anyone who might breach the timeline. We also know that Deadpool can be quite eccentric, and if he has some kind of access to time travel, he will use it for the sheer tomfoolery of it. Deadpool might also drag Wolverine into the mess. So this is where the Morbius and Loki storylines might crash with Wolverine and Deadpool, or at least introduce the Deadpool 3 movie that comes after. Loki Season 2 will be released in the middle of 2023, while Deadpool 3 is slated for November 2024. The TVA and Loki Season 2 might mostly be about Kang, but if there's anything we've learned from the MCU, there's always room for post-credit teasers, something Marvel movies are known for. Essentially, there's always a tie-in to the next movie or show, so we might have Deadpool abducting or convincing Wolverine to accompany him into a different multiversal timeline. Apparently, Deadpool always follows his nose, irrespective of the consequences, and this move will most definitely attract the attention of the TVA. Because of the multiversal theme and plot, we might get to see other variants of Wolverine and Deadpool. Not that any other Deadpool variant can top the one played by Ryan Reynolds. We might even get to see a more classic variant of Wolverine. That is, the one with the yellow and blue suit who wears the iconic flared head mask. We must also mention that Deadpool is a more comedic character and his films have remained true to this. How things might play out if Wolverine is included is left to the imagination. But if you think about it, Wolverine has always been angry, so their on-screen dynamic might play out as Deadpool constantly getting on Wolverine's nerves, with Wolverine being the reluctant and very angry accomplice. Wolverine and Deadpool have been in the same movie before. Remember X-Men Origins from 2009? Back then, Deadpool was still human and Wolverine's bones hadn't been blasted by adamantium yet. On the flip side, Logan was released in 2017 and saw the end of Wolverine, both literally and figuratively. So Wolverine is essentially dead. But how does that tie into the Deadpool 3 plot? Yeah, we know that Wolverine is self-healing and all, but at the same time, he is definitely not immortal. So we can't assume that Logan dug himself out of his grave and became some sort of zombie Wolverine. So here's what it really is. The events in Deadpool Part 3 happened a while back before Logan became his old self, so that settles things nicely. What's so great about the collaboration between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman is that they're friends in real life, but there's a sense that in the movie, Wolverine won't comply with Deadpool that easily. For instance, there might be a duel that would force Wolverine's hand. We can only say this because Hugh Jackman's stunt double posted a few workout pics on social media. He was essentially saying he's getting ready for the action. This hints at a little fighting and even flying around as stuntmen do. No doubt the movie is not just about two guys being themselves, it will also be action-packed. Speaking of which, the movie will remain R-rated. Ryan has also suggested that the movie will be like a buddy cop film. They would travel the multiverse and meet other variants of themselves, and we know how that goes. Other variants of Wolverine might not be so receptive to Deadpool tagging along or holding one of their own hostage. Otherwise, both characters will most definitely clash at some point in all of this. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman gave us a teaser in that regard with a sketch where they were seen miming a fight scene. It's the sort of trailer that gets people excited, and so fans began to read between the lines. Some have even suggested that it's the sequence for a real fight scene in the Deadpool 3 movie. On a lighter note, they also expect that Wolverine would stab Deadpool in the face. It's the sort of violence we've come to expect from the Deadpool movies. On a larger scale, that's the storyline to consider. If the rumors are true, Mobius and Loki will go after Deadpool and Wolverine according to the TVA protocol for breaching the timeline. We all know Deadpool has a penchant for getting into stupid and extreme adventures, so this rumored plot is not so far-fetched. The guys at Disney haven't really confirmed this direction, but fingers are crossed. We're waiting and hoping it will be interesting enough, whatever they decide to put into the Deadpool 3 plot. You'd agree our own version of events seems intriguing. Hopefully the writers are listening too. During this so-called multiversal trip, Deadpool would be meeting with all sorts of heroes. From the Fantastic Four to the Avengers, Deadpool would be hoping to cause all sorts of havoc. Plus, it's what fans have always wanted, for Deadpool to rub shoulders with the Avengers and the Fantastic Four. Kevin Feige himself has always desired to include the X-Men and other pre-MCU characters into the mix. His dream is finally coming true as the head of the franchise. Specifically, Kevin wants to see the X-Men in Deadpool 3 and in the Avengers Secret Wars. Kevin has a soft spot for the X-Men because that's where he started. Also, Hugh is loving the opportunity to play alongside Ryan. He says it's a new direction for the Wolverine character to have to play a more comedic role. Hugh acknowledges that it's a challenge he's looking forward to. He also loves the fact that it's never too late to be introduced into the MCU. Better late than never, eh? Disney only just acquired the rights to the X-Men franchise, and aside from Wolverine's last-ditch feature, a lot more should be expected from the X-Men trope. Sadly, there are no indications that we will get a proper X-Men movie in Phase 6 of the MCU. So Deadpool 3 will be directed by Sean Levy, and the only spoiler we have gotten from him is that Wolverine will be grumpier than usual. Levy is also taking his cue from the already established chemistry between Ryan and Hugh. This opens up a lot of ideas on how to go about writing the screenplay, and seeing both Ryan and Hugh come together as Deadpool and Wolverine could turn out to be something special. Despite the announcements of an upcoming threequel for Deadpool, it was visibly absent from the Marvel Studios panel at the D23 Expo. It seems that Marvel executives were being secretive by holding their cards close. At this point in its announcement and development, there had been no word of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine being featured. The theories were all in the air, as the saying goes. It was still early to really start to guess at a storyline, but then Ryan released an interesting video on social media. Were we supposed to take him, or Deadpool for that matter, seriously? Ryan was the same guy who released a short Green Lantern video suggesting he wasn't a Green Lantern in the Justice League movie, and fans started going off like he was playing both the DC and Marvel fields. So what Ryan did here was record himself saying he had nothing else to offer as Deadpool. Then Hugh walked past behind him and photobombed the video by saying he was agreeing to play Wolverine for one last time in Deadpool 3. Ryan then flashes a grin to the soundtrack of Whitney Houston singing "I Will Always Love Hugh." Also remember that the closing Deadpool graphic in Deadpool 2 was slashed by Wolverine's claws, and that represents the biggest hints we've gotten so far. In conclusion, the movie promises to be a hell of a lot of fun. It might turn out to be the best X-Men and Deadpool movie since Logan and Deadpool Part 1, respectively, and it's looking like a decent hybrid action movie that contains all the ingredients for a blockbuster. We have the violence that's a staple of Deadpool movies and comics. We've got a hint of a fight between Wolverine and Deadpool who are equally matched. We've got a comedic dimension where the merc with a mouth might get under Wolverine's more serious demeanor by even committing him against his will. We've also likely got the TVA as represented by Mobius and Loki on the time-traveling tales of both protagonists. And to top it all off, we have Wolverine and Deadpool lost somewhere in the multiverse. This is where they meet the classic X-Men, especially Wolverine. They also get to meet the Fantastic Four, so our hopes are high with this movie, and Sean Levy can't help but to impress us.